Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live from wherever you are around the world. And welcome to this session on filming and editing a hype reel. Before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create, and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Chris Hansen. I'm a senior solutions consultant at Adobe in Sydney, Australia, and I'll be your host for today. And joining me today is actually host extraordinaire, Flyn Tracy. How you going,
Wow.
Flyn?
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. It's weird to be on the other side of this thing, but I'm happy to have you steering the ship, which is great.
Yeah, I'm hosting you, and you're normally hosting me, and then we're doing a dual host thing today, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, I decided to kind of redesign my entire setup here for yesterday's stream that we did with Sophie Eleanor, and
Yeah.
this is also a crazy weird setup, so things could go wrong, guys. And we're dealing with audio and we're dealing with video. Uh, I'm using multiple devices. I'm logged into the same Zoom account somehow as the same person, and I'm using beta apps, so we'll be fine. It'll be good.
Hey, anything could happen, right? That's the beauty of beta apps as well. I mean, we demo those apps, so they're always fun to see what could happen.
It's kind of my favorite part though of
Yeah.
turning you up there. Yeah, it's kind of my favorite part. Is this like Wild Wild West start, like where we're not sure if things are going to necessarily work. They might kind of change how we interact, or kind of the devs and the testing has come out with something, and then it gets into the hands of the community, and then there's like a bit of feedback around how people actually want it to work. It's great. It's a fun time, I think, and it's a good excuse to be a complete novice. I consider myself definitely an amateur when it comes to video content, but I do really enjoy it, which is why I have Chris, the expert here. We're going to dissect a reel and talk about some stuff. But yeah, I think it's a really fun time.
Yeah, totally agree. And what I love about editing video, and particularly in Premiere Pro, is I like to think of it like a kind of like a puzzle, right? And you're
Mm.
just putting the pieces together in order to build out your story. And speaking of stories, what do you want to describe to me what a hype reel is, Flynn?
Yeah, it feels weird describing it to you, but I guess it's like one of those things that it might mean something different to other people. So when I was considering kind of doing a hype reel at Adobe Max, I was thinking something, I guess, like sort of like a festival. Like if a music festival or something was on every year, they might use all the footage that they have from the previous year to create what's
Build
kind of an
hype.
ad, but it's a little bit cooler than an ad. So it's not necessarily like no voiceover. They would have the artist music in the background. It would show people having a good time, like all the highlights of the bands, all the people. It's a little bit of FOMO. It's like, oh, that was last year and I missed out. I really want to go this year. It's that, and it's probably also, you would see it in sport quite a lot. And that's not what I thought. I'm not massively into sport, but when I was researching what it was, a lot of the people were sports editors. So they're down on the field, they're trying to get all these shots, they're
The
taking
action
it
shot.
home, and they action stuff. They've got sound effects,
Yeah.
and they've got to show get this stuff out really really fast. And so yeah, that's what to me a hype reel is. Does that gel with you? Is that what you would think it would be?
Yeah, 100%. And I like to, put it in the context of kind of like a social video as well, right?
Yeah,
Because that's where people are generally consuming their content these days, on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, whatever it may be. And there obviously is a lot of hype around seeing that type of content on your feed and being able to interact with it. And one of the things that I find interesting about video, and particularly in the research that I did this year on a lab that I did for Adobe Max, is that people's attention span for video. Actually, the question is to you, Flynn. What do you think people's attention span is when it comes to viewing videos? And we're talking seconds here.
yeah. I mean, I would guess it would be. I think 8 seconds is a number that I've heard before, but it's probably been cut down
It's
since.
cut down significantly, mate.
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. So everyone's clicked off our live stream then.
Well,
First three
hopefully not.
seconds, yeah,
It's about 2 to 3 seconds now. And you got to
yeah,
think about that. That means you have 2 to 3 seconds as the person editing the video to grab someone's attention
yeah.
to and watch your video.
Yeah. Which
Now
is pretty
that's
wild. Yeah.
it is wild, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember when like the 1 minute videos were being cut down to 30 seconds on social media, just how insane that was to all us old farts. And then that's just reality now. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, back to our long form content here on Adobe Live.
Yeah.
We thought that I mean, we're here for a short time, really, anyway, just to kind of dissect some of this stuff. If you have any questions about video, Chris is our like senior solutions consultant at Adobe for video, and as I said, I'm a bit more of an amateur when it comes to the editing side of things. But I've had a really fun time kind of diving in and just trying a new kind of project, and kind of absorbing myself into the world. And we thought we could share some of that experience because I didn't go in completely blind. So I actually reached out to a couple of people who do this for a living, people that we've had on Adobe Live as well, and asked them some advice. I'm like, this is the gear I've got. What are some tips and things like that? I'm going to share them with you guys in a second. Just before we do, I've got a million buttons today. Let me do this. Okay, cool. Hopefully this is just where we live for the rest of the stream today. We're going to jump in and we're just going to test out the new feature that everyone is talking about, just to make sure that you guys are aware of it. But I'm going to hover over, but it's a generative extend tool. It's just down the bottom. It might be getting cut off by the screen just a little bit, but it's just below the type tool on my panel here. And we're going,
keep
oh, yeah.
in mind, Flyn's in the Premiere Pro beta for this.
Yes, correct. So critically important. It's the public beta though as well. So if you're watching this and you think, oh man, I wish I was on the inside loop with Adobe stuff, you are. As long as you have access to the Creative Cloud as normal, you can download the public beta of any of the apps. You just go to the Creative Cloud app, and you can jump in there and you can download the beta version and have access to some of these tools really, really early. And you might actually even notice that Premiere Pro looks a little bit different. It's had a bit of a slight tweak in the UI. I've noticed some round corners here, Chris. Did you notice those?
It's a little bit more colorful. It pops a bit more, definitely with the round corners. But there's even slight, tweaks and changes to certain areas of like audio as well. I can pinpoint those a bit later on. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. And there you go. So yeah, so it might look a little bit different. That's a really good point, Chris. So if you want to play around with this feature currently, you will need to download the beta. So I'm going to press our generative extend tool. We're going to go to the end. Can this be done at the beginning yet, Chris? Do you know?
Well, actually, you might be able to test that. I haven't tested that myself, but we might be able to test that after with another clip. But notice how Flynn's just done that already, right? Basically, where you would use this type of feature is, let's just say you've got all this footage, but there was a bit of the shot that needed a bit more, and rather than slow the clip down or maybe put something else in to fill the gap, you can use generative extend to simply generate or extend that clip, and then using Adobe Firefly, it'll generate video for us. So where there was, Darcy said this live on stage, where there was nothing, now there is something. And what I love about that is it's as simple as that. You can just drag out that clip and then bring back some footage that wasn't there before.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, it's kind of exactly what you would hope that it does, right? So, when we saw generative AI for, generating static imagery, the next logical step, and I know that Adobe did tease this quite a bit as well, is video. It's like, okay, can we do it for multiple frames? Can we do it for thousands of frames? Can we do it for millions of frames? And so I'm sure the answer has always been yes, but it is quite interesting having this tool in our hands. It definitely would have been something incredibly magical a couple of years ago, and now we sort of just like, yeah, cool, great. How does it work? What type of stuff does it work on? Let's break it. Which is fun.
I was going to add to that. At the moment, you can only really do 1 or 2 seconds, right? Which is important because you don't want to drag it out and do like 10 minutes because you don't know really where the scene's gone or what's happening. So it's only really working in a sense of little bursts. And it does take a bit of time because this is literally first iteration of it, right? It's the first time we're going to see it at this level, and it'll only ever get better from here on in.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, I was gonna tab over to something else, but it is at 80% now. I'll jump over really quick and just kind of start this big thing because we don't have a ton of time. I want to make sure we get through everything that we have planned. Let me just hide something here. The floating channels keep coming up. So these are some of the tips that we had, and I just want to talk about number one. Then we'll jump back in and see how Premiere Pro did with our generative expand of the video. Is planning your shoot. It seems really straightforward, but there's quite a lot within the planning of a shoot. And this was every single person I asked said this very, very clearly. They're like, what's your goal? And I found it very interesting because it's something that wasn't immediately obvious to me. I would have thought I need to kind of Swiss Army knife any project like this. I need to bring everything I've got. Like I need to bring something for social. I need to bring my still camera. I need to bring multiple lenses. Every memory card I have, every hard drive, 2 computers. But of course, it was an international trip, not for a very long time, running around a conference center. It's not practical. And so I'm very glad and happy for this advice. And for those of you who find it obvious, I'm glad. For those who don't, it was really critical for me. And so I'm just going to show you what I packed. So let me see if I can do this. So this is Blackmagic 6K. Oh, look, you can see my other camera in the camera. Look at that. Look at that.
I can only see one of you, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. No, this won't work for you, buddy. You're down there. So this is just the body. So it's a 6K camera, which I originally had hoped to use until I found out what shooting in 6K means. And that means tons and tons and tons of storage space and really fast writable cards, which, Chris, I did not know I needed to buy multiple $600 worth of ultra fast cards to shoot in 6K. And it makes sense because it's magnitudes more data. And it was just not really possible. So I shot in 4K off the same camera. You can just change the settings. I shot in wide angled 4K, which is still pretty good. But Chris, so I basically tried to travel really light. So, Chris, what about you? Like you've done Max a bunch of times and you've done lots of different things at Max. Yeah. What's your shooting strategy?
100%. I wholeheartedly agree with this. Plan your shoot, but plan multiple shoots, right?
Right.
So what I tend to do is in my head, like maybe one day I'm in a cafe and I'm just kind of in my planning phase. I use Apple Notes to just have like a track list or a shot list rather. And I think about what is the point of maybe this particular hype reel? Is it day one of Adobe MAX, right? Is it day one? And what do I want to show? And then I just literally have a checklist and I write that down of each shot. Maybe it's entering the venue, getting shots of the booth, and then when I'm there and I'm at Adobe MAX, I just pull up my notes that I made at the cafe like 3 weeks ago. I'm ready to go, right? And I'm not on the spot thinking, "Oh, what should I get here? What shot should I do there? Or should I get that one?" It's not ad hoc. It's that planned approach. And then I just go through, take the shot, and then check it off on my list. And then it's like it's like a dopamine hit. Oh, I've done that.
Yeah.
I can tick that off now, right? Now I've got like 4 or 5 shots to go, and then once you do that, you have that sense of achievement that you've done that, you've planned that out, and you check that off.
Yeah, that's exactly, and I think that's a good approach. I wouldn't say I failed in that sense. I definitely did do a checklist, but I didn't do it as well as I would do it again. I think I still kind of overshot a little bit. There's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor. But in terms of equipment, I was really happy with everything I brought.
And just on that point of equipment, last year I took like 3 cameras, like one up here. I think I took this one. I took my gimbal here, and then this year I was like, do I really need to take all these cameras? The best camera you have on you is the one you have on you at the time, and for me, it's the phone. And I've got an iPhone 15 Pro, and these things shoot in 4K.
Yeah,
right?
it's pretty crazy.
Incredible. And they're in your pocket, right? So this year I actually invested in the Insta360 Flow Pro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, cool.
That's really handy for, your nice, smooth, buttery gimbal shots,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think traveling lighter, even lighter, could have been possible as well for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting process, I think. And then reflecting back, and there's more. So yeah, I guess just some more hardware stuff as well is like how many minutes or hours of footage do you really have time to edit was a big one for me. Like this isn't a client project or anything, like not really. So it's kind of a on the side thing I really wanted to do. So I had to be very realistic about I'm not going to go through an hour of video content and edit it all down. Like that's insane. Like anyone that's done any editing knows that's like a day or two. Like it's a lot of content. I just don't really have the time for it. So I was really trying to get only what I needed and take only what I needed. So took a couple of hard drives, took a couple of memory cards, shot in 4K. I sacrificed, you know what I mean? Rather than spending more money, spending more time on this particular project. So yeah, I think that all kind of falls within planning the shoot.
Yeah, I totally agree. It looks like we've got some AI to look at.
Hey, yeah, we got some AI to look at. Okay, so you may remember if you were here before, we added, you can actually see it's got a little tag down the bottom. It says AI Gen. I'm sure it says AI generated or something. So that's a little extra bit that we've got. Let's see how we go. Oh, there we go.
And
I should have done a longer one, but if we slow it down, so this is a drone shot. Not me. I did not bring a drone.
You can use your arrows to
like cross. There we go. Tip number 3, I think. So everything from here is not real.
Is not real, guys. It's AI generated.
So
now, one of the biggest things about Firefly is our transparency, right? We want to be able to make sure that people are aware of what has been generated with AI, hence why it's tagged with AI generation. So you can see everything's been generated there. And then, of course, content authenticity comes into play as well once it's been rendered out.
And then I don't want to give it all away, but I want to try another one. I feel like it's going to do drones really easy.
Yeah, maybe. What else you got there? What I love about this is
not that
kind of compiled it all together. Yeah.
Oh, there's a little sneak peek. Trying to find something. Michael Faguso.
See, with people, I'm sure people are wondering, how's it go with people and hands and faces and everything. Again, it's the first kind of phase of this, right? So we'll obviously see.
We're going to try this one.
Yeah, this will be interesting actually because you've got a lot happening there. There's a lot of color, a lot of people.
Oh, it doesn't support the resolution frame of this clip. Okay. Fair enough.
That's beta app. There you go. You see?
It might be because I
could be because it's what'd you say 6K?
Yeah, but that's like a screen grab. This would be the worst one. Let's try this. It's essentially a still. But what I want to try, because we don't know the answer to this, so let's find out live here on Adobe, is can we go, we can't go forward.
No.
Oh, it needs, that's why, because I've changed the resolution of some of these clips. That's why it doesn't like it.
Okay.
And I've changed everything except for those drone shots. There's me.
That's a good note for me.
That's a good tip for everybody. Okay, so like, because I shot this, if you look over to the top, my camera's mirrored over all the way to the top over there, over here where my mouse is, and it has the position and everything. You notice that it's not exactly 920 by 1080. It's a little bit wider, so because I shot in widescreen, and the scale is 216%. So I've already upped that scale. So that's why it's not working at the moment. So it must be fixed at certain ratios. That's super interesting. So there you go. There's a little.
Probably drop that scale down to 100% and see how you go with it if you want to do that. But,
do you want to see?
Yeah. Select that one. Just go scale.
This one.
Yeah.
And just make it 100.
Yeah, just click in there and go 100.
And I think it was 1920.
Yeah.
By 1080.
Yeah.
So so little in my little frame.
Oh, there you go.
That's kind of cool. I'll put it towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do that. So we're experimenting with new stuff. It's fun. Oh, you know what would be easier? If I just turn off these layers.
You can do that, yeah.
Yeah. Just be a bit quicker. So I want to see if we can go forward. Can we go forward, Chris? Doesn't like going forward.
We can't go that way either.
We can't go that way either. But we did before.
This clip is not liking us today.
So. Okay, I mucked around with it too much or something. But hey, it worked the first time. Worked on the first one, you guys. Anyway, let's go back to our little plan you shoot, yeah? Okay, I've only got 5 of these. So yeah, this is the camera that we spoke about. Looked serious business on the day, didn't it? Didn't it, Chris? Like people were like, "Whoa, wow, you look like you know what you're doing." No. This is the number 2 one, was try to pick music first and plan shots accordingly. And I want to talk about this for 2 reasons. One is I failed in this, in that the music that I ultimately have ended up with, and this is still a draft, but I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to use pretty much what I've got here to publish this at some point with some tweaks after today. I didn't want it to be completely polished before today, and also time. But this was great advice. I think this was probably more focused on people who are trying to create social content where you've got a plethora of, publicly listed content that you can use. So what's you're going out on a shoot this weekend. What's the hot music that you want, or what's the vibe at least? But the advice was try to pick the song. You can even download it and put it in your timeline so you're ready to go, right? Try to get it as ready to go as possible. And then if it's like a chill kind of vibe, or if it's, really hip hop, or is it really epic and there's this huge crescendo at one point. And the advice was, if it is something like that, then you're really going to want to get that crescendo shot right. Think about that while you're doing your shoot, even outside of your planning. So any thoughts on that bit of advice, Chris? Do you like thinking of music first before the footage?
Yeah, I cannot agree more on this. In fact, I have a method in which I...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I have you mentioned the word epic. I have a playlist on my Apple Music subscription, and I literally call it The Epic. In fact, there it is.
Oh, nice. Love it.
I designed that cover many years ago as well. Simple, cool. Clean. And what I do is, if I'm out and about and I hear a nice a track that I really like, it's got a good vibe to it, like you were saying, a nice beat to it, I'll just Shazam on my watch or Shazam on the phone, and I'll just add it to that epic playlist. Now, fast forward to when I need to edit a video, and I go, oh, that's right, I got that playlist. I'll go through some of those tracks. Right, this song is going to fit this video, this style. This is the vibe I'm going for.
Yeah.
So then I kind of match it for like for that. That's how I tend to plan it out. It's really good.
That's cool. Yeah, I really like that. And so I guess that's like a useful piece of info. One of the reasons it kind of tripped me up a little bit is that if I was going to make a social edit and share it here on Adobe Live, there's all these issues with copyright. I can't take like a Cardi B song and just play it here on Adobe Live. There'll be copyright restrictions against that. I can't license it. I can't really do it. So if I was to do it, then that would be what I would do. I would do something like what Chris does. I usually just use, I don't use TikTok, but I use Instagram, and I'll save, songs that I really like. It gets annoying though, because I'll save and bookmark really trash video clips that use a really cool song. And every now and then I'll be going through it and be like, why did I save? I was like, oh, the song's a banger. Okay. That's why I saved it. So yeah, there you go. There's I think also when I was kind of looking into this, some people will call it a radio edit as well. Have you heard that term before, Chris?
No. But
yeah.
Do you mean like just the edited version for radio for a track, right?
No. So like actually within editing, I saw the term thrown around. Maybe it's not universal. That's why I was interested in asking you about it. But it did come up a couple of times with editors saying like a radio edit is where you start with the music first and then bring your footage in, rather than, and you can imagine this, rather than putting all your footage on a timeline and then trying to find a song that matches. So it's not like an intuitive approach, but it does make sense when you think about it for more than a second. So yeah,
but
thought I'd share that.
Point, we just did a best of Adobe MAX show in Brisbane, Sydney, and I
Mm.
walked around filming some footage. And it was in Miami, so the Miami vibe is what we were going for. So I was just using Epidemic Sound to go to find that Miami vibe.
Yeah.
Uh, and once I found the music, I was able to cut the video to the beat of that music. So yeah, it's the same thing, really.
Exactly. Same thing. You'll notice the beginning of the edit that I show you at the end of the session today is mostly on the beat, except for the second half because I ran out of time. But it starts off pretty well on the beat, you know.
But
Number 3 is don't shoot footage more than 10 seconds unless it's intended to be sped up. Now, this was, I'm sure, a bit of a lifesaver for me. And I did shoot one or two little clips that were intended to be sped up. And when I looked at them, the files were massive. And I can imagine myself not getting this tip and just coming back with just all this footage that I have to go through, have to trim, that I have to load up, that I have to I find it very difficult to cut things as well. I tend to want to save everything, even if it's garbage. So yes, this was good advice for me that kept the file size, the ultimate storage space, and just how quickly I could move. It just made it a bit faster. So what about you, Chris? Do you have a time that you think about when you're shooting stuff for social or for anything else?
I cannot agree more with this.
Right.
You look through my camera roll, you'll find 4 second clips, 3 to 4 second clips.
Right.
And it's because I'm seeing the shot before I'm filming it. And I'm like, that's the shot I want to get. And if I've got the gimbal, I'm just buttoning on and then getting the shot, like moving with it, buttoning off. That's it. I've got it, right?
Yeah.
And I may need to trim the front and the end of it because, like we said earlier, you want to grab people's attention really quickly. So, those short, sharp jump cuts, if you will grab them for that because you're progressing the story. Now, obviously, this doesn't work when you've got a talking head and, someone's doing a piece to camera to the camera itself. But, you can still manage to add B-roll to that and make sure that it's progressing the story along. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important. Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to eat up all your memory with like 2 minutes of a clip when all you really need is 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Many years ago, slight anecdote, I was working for someone that does events, like creative events. And he was telling me we had a photographer shooting every day of this event, and I was just going through them all. And there were so many photos because they're a photographer, right? They were hired for the whole day. So they gave like probably, 600 raw file photos or something, and then their top 10 and that were edited. That was kind of the deal, the handover deal. But they had to be done really quickly because they needed to be used on social and be sent to press and all that sort of stuff. And then I was going through them with a fine-tooth comb, and the manager, the owner, was like, "What are you doing? Is just go through the top 10, pick one, and that's the photo, and just delete the rest."
Yeah.
And I
Like
said,
rough cutting. Yeah.
and I was like, "Delete the rest." He said, "I don't want them. Just pick one. Doesn't matter. Pick the best one today and delete the rest. We just never need them again. Because whenever we're going to talk about that event, I'm going to use that photo. I want one hero photo from each day." And it blew my mind because I was just like, he said delete, right? Like I just couldn't believe that you could do that. But it was right. He's just move on. We got another day tomorrow. We got things to do. Like we only need that one hero shot. Trust your instincts and just go for it. And I was just like, geez, all right.
Yeah,
Baptism
I totally
by fire,
agree.
that one. Yeah.
And if you have a look at my camera roll, you'll see there's like 3 second clips.
Oh yeah, there we go.
8 seconds, maybe the longest there's 12 seconds, I think, or 13 seconds. But I might need only 4 or 5 seconds from that. So
Yeah. Exactly. So there you go. So shoot small, I guess. Shoot short.
Sure.
Shoot short. That could be it. This was another interesting one, I think, that was getting a bit more specific to kind of the fact that I was shooting in 4K or large format, like 6K or something like that, was to center content that is intended for different aspect ratios. Now, this is the one, right? Do I shoot vertically or do I shoot horizontally? Because
I had this thought this year as well.
right. Okay. So what was your approach? You shot all vertical.
So last year, my intention was to do a vlog for Max,
Yeah.
And I shot everything 1920 by 1080 on a point and shoot G7X Mark II camera,
Mm.
which, by the way, I had to continuously change batteries for because I kept shooting and I pieced the cameras.
Right.
And then I edited that video after Max, and this kind of is 2 points, if you will.
Mm.
I edited it after Max, and Max was kind of had gone, right?
Yeah.
The hype, if we're talking about the hype reel, the hype had gone. So
Mm.
for me, this year, I was like, how are people consuming content every single day? They're consuming it on these things, and it's vertical video.
Yeah.
So I just shot everything this year vertical.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything in real time.
Yeah. And I think that that's just what a lot of people are doing these days. You know, it's just kind of, it's the way it's gone. I did shoot in landscape because my primary goal was to be able to come here and share a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So, so it's an interest, but that can happen, right? Like you could have a client that says, "Hey, I want social, but it also needs to be 16 by 9." And obviously, you have a bit of a problem there because, you know, you might be in a situation where you can get the same shot twice. You know, pan it in horizontal, pan it in vertical. That's double the shoot, but you know, it's doable. But if you're doing something like maybe a festival or something like that, you know, we're talking about that crescendo before. You know, you're trying to get that shot. That might only happen once. So you might only have that as a vertical version. Like, you know, Shot New coming out on stage happened once at Max. And if your brief was you have to get everyone coming out, it's like, okay, I need 2 camera people now. Yeah. Because if you want it vertical, like, you know, or there's some hacks around as well with editing and things like that. So if I shot in 6K, I would have been sweet. So, you know, I could crop in quite well. But you can't just crop in on every shot, right? Like if I shot, let's say I thought the rule of thirds were the be all and end all of graphic design, and I'm Fibonacciing myself all over the place here, then I might want to be shooting, you know, lower thirds and things like that, or shooting to a grid. And obviously if I did that and I wanted to crop in, it might not make sense for the background. You know, you've got someone behind a mural or something, you know, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And so the idea was try to center content whenever possible if it's intended for different aspect ratios. So what that helped me do is when I was shooting, if there was a particular shot that I felt like I could get again, that I felt like if I did turn vertical, because I shot horizontal primarily, then I just reshot it in that case. So I was kind of picking my battles a little bit as I was going.
Yeah. And that makes perfect sense. Like, you know, if you want to get the 2 shot, I mean, yeah, you can shoot just all landscape and then crop in, but yeah, you lose some of the shot. But one of the good features in Premiere is auto reframe, which can reframe your shot and identify the subject automatically. So then that way that it'll just follow that subject around.
Yeah,
could use that.
There we go. Could use that next time. These are the things we need to learn. And then this is the last one. And don't screenshot this. I'm going to bring this up very quick because I do not agree. Well, I mean, I haven't tried it, but this was advice that I was given. And I think that if you're a very experienced videographer, I think this is probably good advice. I am not an experienced videographer, and I wish I had a stabilizer. Now we can edit. We'll show a very quick editing thing because we've been talking a lot, and we should jump in and just show a couple of things to stabilize the footage, which we'll just demo in a sec. But this was advice given to me. Now there is one caveat that I will give. I wasn't shooting on a phone. I was shooting on a really heavy camera. So my camera is a cinematic camera. It has a really big, long, heavy lens. And because it has a long lens, it's going to wobble even more. I didn't think of that at all until I looked at the footage on day 1. So day 2, I was really trying to hold it steady. And you can still see how much shaking there is when you're looking at it in frame. So it needs to be stabilized, which is fine because Premiere Pro can do that for us. But I'll give you an example if I can. I feel like the is that video playback showing?
You've turned it off. So see the eyes. Go back. Go to V2, V1.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah,
see, this is why Chris is here. I would have just shut the stream down. I was like, the internet's broken. Let's give up. I just need to hover over and move this little control for a second.
What we should show as well, Flynn.
Yeah.
Here is the brand new properties panel.
Oh yeah, cool. So is it there by default?
So it should be there by default. this is not just available in beta, by the way. It's available in the normal Premiere Pro if you've updated to the latest version. It's under Window Properties. Now, it's basically a contextual panel that showcases to you some of the things that you would typically have to do a right click for. So think about transforming, filling the shot, fitting the shot, positioning, things like that. Crop.
Mm.
You don't need to go to the effects panel now, type in crop, drag and drop it over the thing. You can just crop in from here, which is fantastic. And it works
It's
with
great.
audio as well.
Look at
How
that.
good is that?
Yeah, that's a huge time saver. You got opacity as well.
Yeah.
Rotation, super quick. That's great. Can you resize? Can you do this now? Yes, thank you. My God, that's great. Good job. And you can unlink the scale as well. So if you want everything to scale, where are we? Scale. Oh, that's really cool. I haven't played around with it that much, but yeah, that's just a huge time saver, isn't it? And I think it aligns with a lot of other Adobe apps that we have contextual bars and things.
After Effects brought it in this year sometime, and obviously Photoshop has it as well. So it's just so much easier to know what you can do to that clip from a panel that can just contextually update for you.
Oh, adjust speed.
Adjust speed.
Oh my God. Okay, I've been adjusting speed and changing length. Yes. Awesome. I mean, really what I should have done is like made a shortcut or something, but I don't use Premiere enough to like remember and code all these shortcuts. It's the same with a lot of apps. So when this is out of the box, more convenient, I'm always happier. That's really cool. Adjust speed is an amazing, just by itself is great to have there. Is fit when you've got something like you've got video footage that is smaller than the canvas size? Is that how that works?
So just
if I change the scale
and then go fit, and it'll fit it. So let's just say, you got something smaller or you got something larger.
Yeah.
All clips are shot differently, like you were saying with aspect ratio.
Yeah.
If it's the case, then you can just click on that and then boom, it'll do it for you, as opposed to right clicking, scrolling all the way down, finding where it is, and not many people know that even existed in the right click menu.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Super cool. So I might show this goes for 1 minute. Should I show the audience this?
I'd love to see this.
Let's have a quick look. You're not going to see it just now, Chris, unfortunately. You won't see it because it's going in the output. I'm going to give them the good version. Here goes, guys. 1 minute. You can go watch this. Okay. Yeah, it's a shame that you can't see it because there's a lot of you in it just for this live. But we'll scrub through it very quickly just to kind of have a quick little look. So I just want to break down some of these shots. So this was at the beginning where I was very ambitious and thought that I would be in front of the camera. I was never in front of the camera again. But look at the composition of that shot.
Camera shot. I love that.
Look at that composition of that shot. I've got the foreground. I'm in focus still. We've got the Miami stuff in the background. Oh, so proud of myself. Never did it again. End of the trip. This is drone footage because I had all these shots that I didn't like. So see this one and this one? Mm-hmm. They were the only two out of about 20 kind of shots that I got of the street. I did a really poor job of getting those kinds of shots at the right time. Like they were okay, but they weren't great. And I went, that's not really Miami, we kind of need. So this is a bit of stock footage. I overshot this of people coming through because this is what I thought I would use as a time lapse or speed things up, which I did speed up a lot here. And then I realized that, isn't it funny that I didn't have any footage of any of the people speaking on stage? And so this is all ripped from the website. So thanks, Adobe. This is also some of the, just some of the interstitial kind of intro graphics as well. Don't do this if you don't work for the company that's pulling it out. Obviously, you couldn't do that. But hey, I feel like I'll be all right. And then a lot of this was kind of community shot. So there was tons and tons of this. These are my less than 10 seconds shoots. People conversing. We've got Aaron Draplin here, which is quite cute because it's Christy Campbell.
Yes.
Getting a little selfie with Aaron Draplin. So, on this shot, you know what? I would probably want to do a little timeline thing and zoom in here, like kind of crop in just so you can kind of see, because she's kind of hidden there.
Scale.
Where are we scales? I probably want to crop in here a little bit so you can just see things a little bit easier. I might even do a slow zoom in on them maybe. This is kind of some behind the scenes stuff with the Adobe Live team. Chris and James Bonobo, I believe.
James Bernardo.
Bernardo, yeah. Trying to get a little bit of motion happening here.
I love that. Great shot.
That's the shot. That was Chris saying, "Hey mate, get some moving shots."
I didn't do this year. I didn't get any of the merch, the stickers, the.
Yeah, me either. I didn't pick anything like that up, which is outrageous. It was next to us for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then quite a lot of folks got all the cool kids hats. Torren Reeves, I think.
Yep.
And then this is my favorite shot. Like that's a vibe shot.
It is. It so is. It's a Miami vibe shot. You don't have him focused though, Flynn.
No, I don't, because I was really terrible at the focus. Because I asked her if I could shoot her handing out some of the merch, and she said yes. Yeah. And then Andrew Hockerdell is his way into my shot, and I wasn't quick enough on the focus because a second after this, and I've still got the footage, but a second after this, he just gets up and walks away because he was being really silly, and I missed it. I missed the shot,
That's all right.
But it's cute still, I think. And then this is just called kind of community stuff. I don't think I'm using this wall. I've got quite a lot of footage of this wall. I don't think I'm using it as to its best ability. So I'm going to play around with that just a little bit more, I think. I think maybe
shots like that, I typically try and get, like if it's such a big installation, I try and have like maybe 2 or 3 even shots. The first shot is really extreme close up, or similar to what you did with the shot of me up on the stage.
Yeah.
And you went behind, but I'm coming from the other direction. Just a slight reveal and then a different angle of the shot coming out. So that way it's that storytelling, like, well, what is that? Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think I lacked a bit of that. And so I didn't do a zoomed in shot, which I could have easily done as well. I think maybe cropping in from the roof, like you kind of want it to go into infinite rather than saying, oh, it's only, this tall, even though it's huge. And then a couple of folks, Anna McNaught, Emily, what's up, homies? And then it kind of ends with Chris Do, and then some of this installation, which I'll kind of try to line up a little bit better as a bit of an outro to bang.
Like that.
So that's pretty much it. Hey, we've only got a minute left. So it was a quick little breakdown of the trials and tribulations of trying to do a hyperreel. I'm still pretty happy with where it's at from having no experience doing one. And I'm going to make a couple of tweaks, make it a little bit more polished, tighten it up a little bit, get the second half rhythm happening. There might be a little bit too much going on, and I might even introduce a little bit of graphics before I kind of publish. But that's going to take us to the end, Chris. So thank you for hosting today.
No, thank you. Thank you. I loved it. It was awesome, and I really look forward to seeing the end result for this. And everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope to see you in the next one.
Yeah, and the next one is in 15 minutes, so I'm going to be back in the hosting chair, same chair,
There you go.
with with Jeremy Lord, and we'll be back in a little bit. So thank you, Chris, and I hope you guys to stick around. We'll be live again in 15 minutes. See you then.
Cool. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.